Today we're at the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria, Queens. We're going to do a walkthrough of Recording the Ride, which is a retrospect of generally the VHS era of skateboard videos, basically from about 1984, and starts off with what's considered the first kind of skateboard video, which is the Bones Brigade Video Show, which comes out in about 1984 till about 1998, 99, when VHS stops being used as the medium and DVDs kind of take over. So this show kind of outlines that era of skateboard video making. Let's go inside. All right, so this is the exhibit. And this was basically the brainchild of Jacob Rosenberg and Michaela Ternasky, who is the daughter of Mike Ternasky, founder of Plan B. Also worked for H Street. And generally, this is the show. This is where everything is housed. There's these little cubes filled with VHS tapes. There's some skateboard decks on the ceiling, courtesy of Bob Shirt and Decade. And then there's a bunch of artifacts generally contributed by different filmers and videographers. And generally with each little exhibit, there's a little artifact, and we're gonna basically walk through and talk about the artifacts. But first I wanted to point this out. This is kind of interesting. So this is a wall of photographs shot by different photographers of people with the filmer in the photograph. But I noticed this right out of the gates, that this right here, this Aya tag is Gabriel Rodriguez. That's what Gabriel Rodriguez wrote as a graffiti tag. And this is Shiloh at the World Industries Park. And that's probably Sock filming. But this is Craig Stesick with Stacy Peralta, which is pretty cool. RB, Stevie, Aaron Meza, Jake Rosenberg, and Sean Sheffy. So, and then they got this memory screen. Dwayne Petrie. So it's kind of like the video screen, but I wanted to point this out too. So this is generally the way kids, probably in 1984, if you even had a VHS, copy of the Bones Brigade Video Show, this is basically a relic of a television set that you would watch that videotape on. And like I said, this video comes out, I think, around 1984. We could check. Yeah, 1984. But the most incredible thing, I would say, in this exhibit is kind of straight out of the gates. In this video, it starts off with Lance kind of coming out of a chimney, and he's rolling around his little zone in LA. And this is the actual shirt and skateboard that Lance is wearing and riding in the Bones Brigade Video Show. And the idea or the fact that this still exists is completely insane. Lance is a well-known documentarian / collector of not only his own objects, but things that are significant to his experience and to everyone as a skateboarder's experience in skateboarding. Again, I'm just kind of catching little glimpses of Dwayne skating, and there's some Neil Blender art in there. And it's crazy, this juxtaposition of the audio show, the video show and memory screen. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The exhibit kind of starts. Basically, it starts off, you have these cubes filled with, this is more or less the progression of skateboard videos, and it starts off, like I said, the Bones Brigade Video Show. There are video clips that come out prior to this, going all the way back into the 70s, probably even into the 60s. But for the most part, this is like the first like properly produced video that skateboarders kind of get to kind of obtain and buy in the skate shop. It's a product of obviously Powell Peralta, which is Stacy Peralta and George Powell, along with Stesic and the whole crew of folks that produced this video. Obviously the skateboarders. It's followed by Future Primitive, Animal Chin, Public Domain, Ban This, and the whole laundry list of incredible Powell videos that have come out over the years. This next one, H Street is kind of the first brand to sort of like dethrone, in a sense, Powell's domination over the skateboard video market. And when this comes out, Shackle Me Not.
Hi.
Hey, what do you think about skateboarding?
Well, I think it's a little dangerous. I wouldn't try it.
All right.
But you look like you're having fun, and that's the main thing.
There's water right there, but Pink feels so fun compared to all these other.
It really like kind of stirs the industry up, and it's followed by Hocus Pocus, Matt Hensley, and H Street is a product of Tony Magnuson and Mike Ternasky, essentially. Some interesting archive of a little archive of stuff here. This is a T-shirt worn and owned by Mike Ternasky, who tragically passed away in 1994. This is incredible stuff. A Mike Ternasky business card, an invite to Hocus Pocus, some H Street era zines, and then some of the videotapes that were used in the production of Shackle Me Not. I mean, insane little stash right here.
We're out of here.
Then we get to Video Days, right, which is obviously arguably one of the most incredible and influential videos to come out.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Spike, Mark, gives you a little rundown of the history of Blind. But these are Spike Jonze contact sheets from the day that they filmed the car scenes. I mean, it's self-explanatory, incredible stuff. To see like behind the scenes kind of elements of the production. But, and you could hear Mark's Coltrane song playing in the background. So now we have the World Industries Camp and all of their offerings, starting out with Two World Industries Men, Video Days, Tim and Henry's Love Child, incredibly influential group of videos right there. Part of me wants to take this whole cube and run out of the museum, but next we have, coming out of the World Industries Camp, this is Ternasky's Plan B, as Rodney Mullen plays, Virtual Reality, Secondhand Smoke, and the Questionable video. Really interesting. Then we swing around. The girl camp. So, bunch of guys ride for Plan B. They break away from Rocco. They start their own brand, Girl. Mike Carroll, Rick Howard, being the two kind of main guys that start the Girl brand. This is their offerings: Mouse, Goldfish, Chocolate Tour, Paco. Goldfish coming out before Mouse, but I think Mouse is probably, behind Video Days, probably the most influential video in terms of a street kind of aesthetic to come out. This is, I would love to own this Mouse Admit One ticket, incredible. the cameras used, DV videos. Here's guys, it says, I think this is a sock. Sorry. Switch shove it picnic table. So I don't know if that's just a switch pop shove it over the picnic table, but that's the, those are some of the log tapes. Zoo York's mixtape, RB. Got some of the audio tapes used. Pretty cool. Eli Gessner's handwriting, you could tell. Yeah, RB's camera. Incredible stuff. Robbie Gangemi. So these are the Zoo York offerings. Mixtape. This is RB's independent video, peep this. I believe a mixtape 2 came out, but then we jump over to here, which is kind of a weird jump, to Alien Workshops. And this is the original box, which it's hard to find those with the original boxes, but that's the memory screen. And if you remember, we visited Neil Brown, who had all the original art and the original kind of like box compounds or whatever to make that production box. So that's memory screen, photosynthesis, and time code. Swing around here. This is Underachievers, Dan Wolf. He's generally kind of considered, at least on the East Coast, to be basically, this is like one of the first independent skateboard videos that has like a group of characters, cast, whatever, that are not necessarily related by brand. Now, granted, there's been plenty of other videos. Dave Schlossback had Quiet Storm and Turn the Other Cheek, which were also like compilation videos, so to speak. But this is Underachievers, Dan Wolf, coming out of Pennsylvania. He offers this in 1996. Am I right about that? Eastern Exposure 2 is 94, Eastern Exposure 3 is 96, yeah. So that's that. Pretty cool. These are Transworld videos. Self-explanatory. Transworld, as a print magazine, decides to kind of jump on the 411 bandwagon and put out skateboard videos, and these are all incredible. Toy Machine. This is basically the brainchild of Ed Templeton, and I'm sure there's plenty of filmers that, you know, can get mentioned here. So this is Welcome to Hell, Toy Machine, their videos, Ed Templeton's brainchild, Toy Machine. And I'm sure there's a laundry list of filmers involved there. I know Dan Wolf was also involved with creating some of the Toy Machine videos. But this one says Jack Shore on it. I wonder what that means. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And this seems to be, I wonder whose that is. VHS cassette Jump Off a Building. So there's like a random like dub of Jump Off a Building. And there's the original. So in this box is like a bunch of like randoms, but I just wanted to point out this. This is a visual sound. Shot sequence, which I guess in a sense should be in that world kit little thing over there.
One. Oh. One.
But this was a super influential video for me when this came out. Not only that, but also this. And these seem to be, this is the original version of Finally, the FTC1 video. And I guess this is like a different box. But these, Psycho Skate, Ohio Skate Out, these are NSI video.
All right, I'll see you in Ohio. All right, bye.
Savannah Slamma. All of the Santa Cruz videos, Risk It, Streets of Fire, Wheels of Fire.
Captain, there are doubts in your ability. There's too many blinds in your analogy.
Hugely influential. I think Jake told me basically that this exhibit is more or less focusing kind of on the 90s. So you're not getting a lot of the 80s videos that come out. You know, it obviously jumps from Bones Brigade Video Show straight into kind of like Shackle Me Not. But you know, the focus was more on like the 90s street kind of like element to video making. But yeah, here's some of the great 80s stuff, even though Risk It is probably 89. Oh, there's 5 Flavors. I'm in that video. I love you. I'm also in Underachievers, Eastern Exposure 3. But yeah, then we jump over to Alien Workshop. This video is hugely influential to many, many skateboard video makers, just because it combined elements like this, for instance, graphic elements, and kind of like almost like experimental video making or experimental filmmaking intermeshed with skate footage.
And this is the Alien Workshop.
Workshop is formed by Chris Carter, Mike Hill, and Neil Blender. In 1990, they moved to Ohio. Neil kind of moves to Ohio. Hill and Carter are from that region, but they set up shop in Dayton, Ohio, and they start the Workshop, which branches off from GNS. And this is kind of a cool object. It's an invitation. I don't know if this is like, is a photocopy or what, but it says printed in 2024. But yeah, kind of cool. Welcome to Hell. Again, going back to Ed. I know that Jamie had a pretty big influence in the brand, did some of the filming. I think these are like, this is basically Jamie's logs tapes, and that's his Misfits shirt that he wore. Also famously kind of like, not that t-shirt, but the Misfits kind of branding or logo or t-shirt was also worn heavily by Bam and Mike Maldonado, who also were big fans of the Misfits and wore those t-shirts. Transworld Video, Sight Unseen.
When I first started skating,
my friend Nick, he took us to this ramp called Jack's Ramp, and he told me about Henry, like, he used to always snake and stuff.
What's your name?
He was super good, crazy tricks.
You'll be forever unprotected, rascal, planet Asia, yeah, never respected.
And feedback.
You know, things just happen. You know, sometimes life just gets to you, and you just get a little down. You know, you just gotta let it out. It's just a tough break. You know, one more tough break in life. You know, it's not fun.
Yeah, the radio, the ghetto blaster just is a must on the session, man. It's just motivation, man. It's just, without the ghetto, I don't think I would have been doing a lot of my tricks that I'm doing right now.
I don't know whose camera this is. John Holland's camera. Underachievers, again, Dan Wolf. This is kind of like showcasing the video. Brian Sieber, Donnie Barley. Pretty cool. And then we move on to Plan B. And because Jake was involved in this, a decent collection of Jake's kind of like editing equipment and some of the Plan B stuff that was used to create the Plan B videos. In the background here, you have a picture of Pat Duffy grinding, I forget the name of that school, but, and I don't know if that's Sheffy in the background there. And I'm assuming that might be Ternasky filming, but you have all of these log tapes and masters, an editing board, camera. Man, imagine if that camera is that one right there. I don't know if it is, but incredible. Invitation to virtual reality, incredible. Rodney Mullen's log tape or master tape, virtual reality master, incredible. Priceless artifacts. This is insane. This was drawn by Carl Heinemann, who was rode for H Street, if I'm not mistaken. And you have Mike Ternasky's Plan B business card and Jake's Plan B business card. Some personal artifacts, really incredible. That almost looks like Keenan at like the Christmas party. Yeah, Colin McKay, Rodney. Those are shared from the Ternasky archive or collection. Birdhouse, the end. Pretty cool. And then 411. And 411 comes out as like basically the first, you know, I mean in many respects it changes the game because now videos come out every single month with a whole rotating cast of characters from a bunch of different filmers. So in many respects, this is like kind of the blueprint of like the Transworld video and or the Thrasher video, which by the way, Thrasher doesn't have their little, because concurrent to Transworld running their magazine's video, Thrasher also put out videos, you know, per quarterly or whatever it was, and operated as like a video magazine as well. But 411 is kind of like, this is like sort of the blueprint. And this one right here on top is the first 411 video magazine with Jeremy Ray on the cover. Pretty cool. And this came out of Giant, which was Steve Douglas and Paul Schmidt's operation, and Josh Friedberg and Chris Ortiz and a whole other cast of characters making this a reality. Oh, I guess I should point out these too. So Decade has a bunch of boards in here, and they're mind-boggling. This is a mind-boggling collection of boards, easily in the, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. But you know, you got a Dill Workshop, a priceless Gino Nodis Panther graphic for 101, Rodney's Yoda, Rick Howard's Raggedy Ann. This board, incredible with the scratch-off graphics, Henry Sanchez. Alfonso Rawls, insane. This Carl Shipman, I had so many of these when I rode for Stereo. I would get a box of those, and if I only held on to them. Rick Howard's Ames chair, I believe. That Keenan, insane. Rudy Johnson, 40-ounce malt liquor, Old English board. Sheffy, Everslick. I believe this is a Cardiel, the Candy Cardiel. Day One, Mark McKee, graphics. Yeah, these are insane, insane. Javante Turner, the Brian Lottie Tron graphic. I mean, that's like one of the most incredible concepts and boards to ever come out. Sheffy board, probably one of the hardest boards to find in that condition. And then you got the Mike Carroll, Shiloh, LeVar, World Industries. I mean, this is an insane collection, topped off in front by the Mark Gonzalez Sword and Skull ripoff of the great VCJ graphic from Powell Peralta. A game-changing concept and graphic. And again, you know, part of going back into that concept of H Street, you know, giving Powell Peralta a little bit of a run for its money, that board also kind of shook the foundation of skateboarding for a second there too. But yeah, and I guess it's all kind of history now. So. But this is the Museum of the Moving Images Recording the Ride exhibit, and it's incredible. And if you get a chance, come out. It's in Queens. Check it out. Cool. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Michaela Ternasky-Holland, and I am the daughter of Mike Ternasky, the owner and filmmaker at Plan B.
Yeah. And quickly, I had asked you off camera, I had thought that you worked for the museum, but you don't, and you said you have a background in virtual reality. Quickly, if you can just reiterate how this whole thing happened.
Totally. So basically, when I worked with the Museum of the Moving Image in 2023, it was about virtual reality and nuclear weapons threat and social impact. And we had such an amazing time collaborating. I wanted to return to the Museum of the Moving Image with this idea of screening my father's work.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, you know, my father was a skate filmmaker. We would love to screen the Plan B trilogy in the beautiful Redstone Theater here at the Museum of the Moving Image. Would you be open to that? And quickly, Barbara and Denai, who were our deep collaborators at the Museum of the Moving Image for recording the ride, were like, we love the idea of just hopping on a call and seeing if there's more to this story. And so we hopped on a call with me and Jake, and very quickly we realized it wasn't just going to be a screening, it was going to be an exhibition.
Sure.
Because of all of these amazing artifacts.
Right.
I think Barbara saw a real potential for there to be a conversation about filmmaking before it became digitized, as well as a conversation around this counterculture like skateboarding and how it's infused itself into so many parts of our life today that we don't even realize, and sort of bringing forward that credit where it's due to all these amazing skate filmmakers.
Yeah. Interestingly, outside of the museum, I had kind of described this as the time period of the VHS video. And so, you know, with that concept, you're getting like a physical object. It's almost like the album when music was recorded on albums and you held them. But also off camera, I asked you how much of your dad's archive had existed kind of like untouched, but you had mentioned that you gave a lot of it to Jake.
Yep.
And I mean, for me, the idea of like the stuff, like your dad's business cards, to me, to own one of those is like, that would be like one of my treasured objects, you know? I love the concept of business cards, but also t-shirts, you know, and then just general artifacts and stuff. But you mentioned you gave it to Jake, and then somehow you said, or you mentioned that your mom, that somehow Colin and Danny ended up with some stuff. One other quick question, there's a photograph in there on the back wall of all the Plan B stuff. That's your dad filming Pat Duffy?
That's correct.
Grind the
And
Rail?
Sean Sheffy's in the background.
And Sean
watching.
Sheffy's in the background. Yeah, I was kind of looking at it, and it's kind of, doesn't really look like Sheffy, but you could kind of like, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Quick anecdote, two of my friends in that footage, two of my friends drove out from New York to San Diego, and they're in the background of Pat grinding that rail. They're sitting up against the wall. It actually might be three of my friends, but I know for certain it's definitely two of my friends. I can't remember if one of them told me that they went off to go to the store or something, but two of my friends are in the background of that footage, and it's so trippy to think that that's them, you know, sitting back there.
So the reality is, you know, when somebody dies, they leave this vacuum, this hole, especially in a family environment. And so my mom made the decision to really remove me from my dad's life, and we moved away from San Diego. My mom got remarried. And so actually growing up, I wasn't connected very closely to Plan B. I wasn't connected very closely to skateboarding. I knew that was what my dad did, but I didn't realize the impact he had in the skateboard world. I had heard names like Danny Way and Colin McKay and Jacob Rosenberg, but I had never put faces to names until I turned 18. Got in my car, and I was like gonna go figure out who my dad was, you know, that classic kind of coming of age story. And one of the first people I met was Jake, because he had created Waiting for Lightning, and we had exchanged numbers at that point. And I really, this exhibit's really a testament to who Jake is in my life, because he was so thoughtful in the way that he approached the methodology of how I was reintroduced to skateboarding and reintroduced to my father and reintroduced to this world. And it was done in such a way that was caring and open, and there was no forcing. And I myself am not as connected to the skate community on a personal level because I didn't grow up in it, and no one knew who I was going into it. But knowing that Jake was that person holding my dad's legacy alive in the skate community, and knowing how much Jake cared about my father helped me feel safe to explore it.
Sure.
And that's really also why this exhibit's so special, because I love physical storytelling. I love experience design, guest design. It's why I work in virtual reality. I've worked for Disney before. I really love the idea of bringing people into a physical space and giving them something to enjoy. And so taking Jacob, who he is in the skate industry and how much people respect him, he was the one that was able to unlock all these doors to all these amazing filmmakers and have these conversations at a subject matter level. And I got to come in with my passion for design and creativity and build something with the exhibit that I hope everyone feels is authentic and realistic to what skateboarding is. You know, there's some things we're breaking rules on, and there's some things we're not breaking rules on, and my hope is that I can give back to the skate filmmaking community and in the way that I think my dad would have wanted to do in his lifetime.
Yeah, cool.
I think if the skate community is happy with it, then it definitely meets the vision I had for it. Having my dad, you know, honored in the way he's honored in the exhibit is everything I could ask for, even down to the point of having his magazine with my mom's photo and him together is like such a beautiful moment to let people know about their love together, even though it's his obituary. And being able to think about, you know, I don't like thinking about passing away, but if I were to ever pass away and I had left all this creative legacy behind, if somebody cared about me enough or, you know, thought about me long enough and hard enough to try and put my work into a museum exhibition, I think I would feel very humbled and honored by that. And so if I can give that to my dad's legacy, like give that homage, then I feel very at peace with everything. And I think the beauty of this was it forced me to go back into my dad's stuff in a way I had never gone back into it. And for the first time, I felt ownership to start taking things for myself. So like now I have a couple t-shirts of my father that I wear just because they're mine now, or some images of him. Like there's my favorite image of him is like him drunk at a party, and I keep it in my notebook. And it's like now I feel like there's pieces of him that go with me throughout my life that are in my home in ways that they weren't before we started this journey of creating this exhibit.
Where did your mom grow up?
My mom grew up also in Northern California. They met in high school.
Oh, wow.
They were high school sweethearts, then they lost contact, and then they came back together and ended up getting married.
And they lived down in San Diego because that's where Plan B was operating out of.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gotcha.
they were doing long distance for a while because actually my dad would take the long haul trips up to Northern California to film skaters up there, to film spots up there, to go to competitions.
Yeah.
So yeah, all up and down the 101.
You know, I hold Chris's privates to the flame about this interview I did with Matt Hensley a couple years back, and Matt told me an interesting story about your dad involving possibly a car. Maybe your dad gave Matt a car?
He did.
Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact make or model, but it was some sort of sick sports car.
Yes.
Like a really sexy one.
And did it get stolen from Matt?
It might have gone stolen from Matt, but I know that it was this weird moment where my dad almost knew his life was coming to a close, and he really went to the Vancouver 1994 skate competition to make peace with Rick Howard after him.
Oh, after they left.
Mike Carroll left to make Girl.
Oh, wow.
He really went to go make peace with some other folks who had been kind of bad-mouthing him in the industry.
Okay, let me just quickly interrupt you. Your dad continues with Plan B right after, because you have Secondhand Smoke.
Yep.
And there's a whole wave of Jeremy Ray and Pat Chinita, and they continue Plan B. But Mike and Rick leave and start Girl in 1993, and so your dad goes to the contest to try and interesting. Yeah.
I mean, he went to the contest for his skaters,
right,
but there was like a part of him that was ready to make peace with all of this turmoil he had been dealing with the last year after the skaters left to make Girl. And I think there was a part of him that felt a huge loss, because if those guys had wanted to make their own company, I think he would have supported them and told them to go and do it.
Sure.
But the way it happened felt a little hard.
Well,
for
you know,
him.
and I don't mean to draw parallels, but in a sense, this is how Plan B starts with these guys leaving H Street. You know, So it's an interesting, and this has happened time and time again in skateboarding. And interestingly, Stacy often talks about. Stacy Peralta talks about. With George Powell, his relationship with George Powell, he always says, like, I always wanted to give each individual rider on Powell the ability to start their brand out of Powell Peralta, but George Powell said no. And this is what causes essentially each Bones Brigade member to break away and start their own brand, except for Cab, who stays with the Bones Brigade. But, however that dynamic works, it's just the way things go, it's like kind of, it is what it is kind of thing. So.
And I kind of think it's the spirit of skateboarding, right? Someone's like, you can't fucking do that, and skateboarders like, yeah, fucking go do that. And there's that sense of like constantly feeling when there's too much organization or there's too much properness to it all.
Sure.
It's almost like, MT, who used to be like the guy who was grinding it out with the skaters, became like the business guy, and then his skaters were like, well, fuck this, we want to go make.
Right.
So, and I think that's the beauty of skateboarding, is it's constantly forcing itselp to be authentic and asking itself what authenticity is.
It's interesting because on many levels that happened, like with it when Rick and Mike broke away and started Girl. Not only did they were leaving Mike Ternasky, your dad, they were also leaving Rocco. It's like two heavyweights, kind of in the industry. But yeah, super fascinating stuff.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of this era of skating, and maybe it's even skating today. I'm not as familiar with skating today. Is like everyone knew everyone. Everyone was a family, and unfortunately, family gets messy. People get
small.
People want to like get out of like whatever situation they think they're in, and then look back, they're like, oh, I love that person.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, I think, of what we saw like here at the exhibit opening. We saw a lot of people coming back together to be like, wow, what a great moment in time, despite the hurt, despite the frustrations.
If this was in California, it would have been even crazier, like with the industry types. I mean, here it was like very, New York is like not. New York was never industry heavy. Yeah. But if this was in,
our dream is to bring it to LA.
I mean, I was just about to say, like, this needs to go there because it's like, this is like, it's almost like it. I don't want to say it didn't make any sense to have it here, because obviously the museum is what it is, but LA, I'm sure, has the equivalent of this somewhere, right, that you could bring this to. But yeah, anyhow, we should probably get going.
Okay.
Totally appreciate it. Great to meet you again.
Thank you. Thanks for the interview.
And thank you for the exhibit. And I told Jake, it's awesome. It's great stuff. I love this kind of stuff. In fact, I was thinking about breaking into the museum at night and just stealing everything and just, you know, kind of
planning a heist.